Ladies and gentlemen, what if I told you that your sensitivity is not a flaw, but a gift? What if the very thing people criticize you for is the exact thing this world desperately needs more of? If you've ever been told you're too emotional, too intense, or that you care too much, this message is for you. You are not broken, you are awake. Empaths are the quiet warriors of this noisy world, absorbing energy, feeling what others refuse to feel, and carrying burdens that don't even belong to them. But in doing so, they shine a light so powerful that it unsettles the ones still trapped in their shadows. This video is not just a reminder, it's a reclamation, a call for every empath, every deeply feeling soul to stop hiding, to stop apologizing, to stop shrinking in the presence of those who secretly resent the radiance they cannot match. Today, we're diving deep into why empaths attract resentment, how to protect your light, and most importantly, how to rise without guilt. So stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll no longer see your empathy as a burden. You'll finally see it as your superpower. The ancient warning. Ladies and gentlemen, in the ancient wisdom of the East, there are teachings not just meant to educate the mind, but to awaken the soul. Teachings that don't simply tell you what's wrong with the world, but instead reflect the truth about what could be silently wrong within us. Today, we begin with one of the most chilling yet transformative lessons spoken by none other than Master Xu Heng, a modern-day Shaolin monk who has spent his life cultivating mental clarity, spiritual balance, and physical mastery. In a world obsessed with appearances and loud voices, there exists a warning that often goes unnoticed. It isn't broadcasted on social media. It's not something you can see right away in someone's Instagram story, their resume, or even in how they speak. It hides beneath the surface. It speaks softly, but with devastating effect. According to Master Xu Heng, the most dangerous sign in a person is not anger, it's not fear, it's not even hatred. It's something far more subtle, far more toxic, and far more common. This sign is so dangerous because it doesn't scream, it doesn't make a scene, it doesn't draw attention. It slowly infects the way a person sees the world, interacts with others, and even how they see themselves. It poisons their perspective, limits their potential, and silently stunts their growth. This sign can live in the educated, it can live in the wealthy, it can even live in people who appear calm, spiritual, or successful. Why? Because it feeds off comfort, it hides in the ego, and it wears a mask of "I already know." Think about it. How many people do you know who stopped growing not because they lacked talent, but because they believed they were already enough? How many conversations have you had where someone dismissed your insight, not because you were wrong, but because they couldn't imagine being corrected? This warning from Master Xu Heng isn't meant to shame, it's meant to awaken. He reminds us that no matter how far we've come, how much we've learned, or how strong we've become, we must never lose the heart of a student, because the moment we do, we start to rot from the inside out. This isn't a lesson to take lightly. In fact, this ancient teaching has echoed through monasteries, martial arts schools, and sacred texts for centuries. Why? Because it holds the key to lasting wisdom, inner peace, and authentic power. So today, we begin this journey not by looking at others, but by looking within. Because the most dangerous sign in a person isn't always visible to the world, but it is always known to the soul. The sign revealed: inner arrogance. Let's stop dancing around it. Let's name the most dangerous sign in a person. The one Master Xu Heng warns about with such clarity and precision. That sign is inner arrogance. But this isn't the arrogance most people picture. It's not the loud, boastful, over-the-top behavior you might associate with pride. This isn't about someone who brags openly or shouts about their achievements. No, this form of arrogance is far more dangerous because it's silent. It lives in the shadows of the mind. It speaks in the subtle tone of "I already know this." It hides behind the mask of experience, age, education, and even spiritual identity. Inner arrogance is the belief that you have nothing left to learn. It's the quiet voice that says you're above correction, above instruction, above being wrong. And once that belief takes root in a person's soul, growth stops, learning stops, transformation stops. This kind of arrogance doesn't always look toxic. In fact, it can be dressed in intelligence, charm, or even humility on the surface. But underneath, it's corrosive. It resists new ideas. It defends old patterns. It shuts out anything that challenges its version of truth. Think about this. How many people walk through life with the attitude of, "I've got this already," while silently failing in their relationships, repeating the same emotional mistakes, and blaming others for every setback? That's inner arrogance. Not because they shout it, but because they've stopped being open to the possibility that they might still be wrong. Master Heng emphasizes that this arrogance is dangerous because it blinds you. It makes you unreachable. Teachers can't help you. Life can't teach you. Even failure can't humble you because you've already decided you're right. And when you live in that space where no correction can reach you, you become your own prison. On guard. You might appear confident to the world, but inside you're stuck in ego, stuck in comfort, stuck in the illusion of superiority. This silent arrogance doesn't just hurt you, it affects everyone around you. It makes collaboration difficult, growth impossible, and healing out of reach. Why? Because when you refuse to look inward, you force others to carry the weight of your denial. But here's the catch. The smarter you are, the more susceptible you become. Because intelligence can become a shield for arrogance. Success can become a cushion for complacency. Spirituality can become a disguise for superiority. That's why this warning isn't just for the loud and proud. It's for the quiet and confident too. The real danger of inner arrogance is that it feels like strength, when in reality, it's a subtle form of decay, and unless it is acknowledged, uprooted, and replaced with humility, it will continue to steal from you. It will rob you of growth, it will rob you of peace, and ultimately it will rob you of becoming the person you were meant to be. Why it's so dangerous. Let's take a deeper look at why Master Heng calls inner arrogance the most dangerous sign in a person. It's not just a character flaw. It's a threat to your growth, your relationships, and your future. This kind of arrogance is dangerous not because it's loud, but precisely because it's quiet. It doesn't come with flashing red lights. It's subtle. It feels like confidence, but it's actually a rejection of growth. When someone is angry, you can feel it. When they're jealous, it eventually reveals itself. But when someone is inwardly arrogant, you may not notice right away. In fact, the person themselves might not even be aware. That's what makes it so destructive. It creeps in silently, taking root in your thoughts, attitudes, and decisions, without you ever realizing you've stopped evolving. Here's why it's so dangerous. Because it doesn't just block your growth, it convinces you that you don't even need to grow. It shuts the door on feedback. It locks you out of wisdom. It stops you from asking better questions, from learning deeper lessons, and from seeing the truth of your own blind spots. Imagine a plant that stops receiving water. From the outside, it may still look green for a while, but over time, it begins to dry out, wilt, and slowly die. That's what happens to the soul when inner arrogance cuts off the flow of wisdom and correction. It may still look strong, but it is drying up from within. This is what Master Heng warns us about, the person who no longer questions themselves, the person who has decided that life has nothing new to teach them, that their perspective is always right, that every disagreement is an insult and every correction is an attack. Now think about the ripple effect of that. In relationships, this kind of arrogance becomes a wall. You stop hearing your partner, you dismiss their concerns, you start thinking, they're the problem, not me. And over time, the emotional distance grows. In leadership, it becomes a ceiling. A person who believes they know everything cannot lead others to new places. They keep repeating the same old methods, resisting innovation and killing creativity with their ego. In personal growth, it becomes a dead end. Arrogance makes you blind to your own flaws. It makes you allergic to discomfort, the very thing that pushes you to evolve. But perhaps the most tragic part, it makes you alone. Because people stop trying to help someone who doesn't want to be helped. They stop offering insight, stop sharing truth, and eventually, they just leave, not out of cruelty, but out of exhaustion. This is why inner arrogance is so dangerous. It doesn't explode your life overnight. It erodes it, bit by bit, day by day, until you wake up one day wondering why you feel so stuck, so misunderstood, and so alone. But here's the good news. If you can recognize it, you can reverse it, and that journey begins with humility. Arrogance wears many masks. If inner arrogance were obvious, it wouldn't be so dangerous, but it's not. In fact, the most dangerous thing about it is that it wears many masks. It doesn't always look like what we expect. We picture arrogant people as loud, boastful, maybe even aggressive. But the truth is, arrogance can look calm, it can look polite, it can even look spiritual, and that's what makes it such a silent destroyer. Master Hsu Heng Yi points out that the most toxic arrogance isn't the one that shouts, "I'm better than you." It's the one that whispers, "I don't need to listen." It's the quiet smirk when someone offers feedback. It's the subtle rolling of the eyes in your mind when someone disagrees. It's the tone of dismissal when someone asks you to see things from their side. Yes, arrogance can wear the mask of overconfidence, where someone pretends they have it all figured out, even when they don't. But it can also wear the mask of sarcasm, the kind of humor that puts others down to lift the ego up. It can disguise itself as quiet judgment, where someone doesn't say much, but internally, they are constantly comparing, criticizing, or evaluating everyone around them. Some of the most arrogant people don't speak much at all. They sit in silence, not from humility, but from a belief that no one else is worth listening to. They may smile politely while inwardly thinking, "You have nothing to teach me." Arrogance can even hide in intellectualism. A person can use their education, experience, or vocabulary to make others feel small, to dominate conversations, or to dismiss simpler truths. They convince themselves that being clever is the same as being wise. But wisdom, true wisdom, is never arrogant. It remains open, curious, and humble no matter how much it knows. And then there's the spiritual mask. This is perhaps the most deceptive of all. Some people develop a spiritual practice, a sense of awareness or mindfulness, and begin to feel superior to others. They speak with compassion on the outside, but secretly judge those who haven't evolved. They say, "Everyone's on their path," while thinking, "But I'm clearly further ahead." This is why we must remain vigilant, not just in observing others, but in examining ourselves. Because inner arrogance is like a shapeshifter. It adapts, it hides, it justifies itself. And it usually tells you that you're not the one with the problem. So ask yourself, do I secretly believe I'm better than others? Do I get annoyed when corrected? Do I stop listening once I think I understand? These are not comfortable questions, but they are powerful ones, because the more honestly you answer them, the more clearly you'll see the masks you might be wearing. Master Hsu Heng Yi reminds us that awareness is the first step to transformation. When you take off the mask, you don't lose your identity. You reclaim your authenticity. You drop the illusion and begin to walk the path of humility, wisdom, and real inner strength. Wisdom begins with humility. In the teachings of Master Hsu Heng Yi and the traditions of Shaolin wisdom, there is one unshakable truth. Wisdom cannot exist without humility. It doesn't matter how intelligent you are, how much you've read, how many experiences you've had. If you cannot approach life with a humble spirit, true wisdom will always stay just out of your reach. Let's think about this practically. Imagine someone trying to fill a cup that's already full. No matter how pure or valuable the water is, it will spill out, wasted, because the vessel has no room left to receive. You are that vessel, and humility is the act of emptying yourself enough to make space for something greater. Master Hsu Heng Yi often says, "Only an empty cup can be filled." This may sound poetic, but it's a brutal truth in today's world where many people are overflowing with opinions but starving for understanding. They speak more than they listen. They defend more than they reflect, and they know just enough to convince themselves they don't need to know more. That's where the danger lies. Arrogance tells you you've arrived. Humility reminds you that you're always on the way. Arrogance says, "I've seen this before." Humility asks, "What more can I learn from this?" We live in an age of access. Information is everywhere. But wisdom? That's rare. Because information fills the mind, but humility opens the heart. It's in that opening that true insight, compassion, and transformation begin. Let's be honest. Humility isn't always glamorous. It requires admitting that you don't know everything. It means acknowledging your weaknesses, listening when it's uncomfortable, and accepting feedback that bruises your ego. But without that process, you're not evolving, you're just performing. Master Shi Heng Yi doesn't teach humility as weakness. In fact, in the Shaolin tradition, humility is considered a source of incredible inner strength. Because when you're humble, you're adaptable, you're open to growth. You don't collapse when life challenges you. You absorb, adjust, and advance. Think of the bamboo tree, flexible but strong, humble but resilient. It bends with the wind but never breaks. That's the power of humility. It keeps you grounded, teachable, and aligned with your purpose, no matter how far you've come. The most powerful people in the world are not the loudest in the room. They are the ones who can sit in silence and still learn. They are the ones who can be praised and still stay grounded. They are the ones who, despite success, continue to say, "There's still more for me to understand." So today, ask yourself, am I a full cup pretending to know, or an empty one ready to grow? Because that answer reveals whether you're chasing image or pursuing wisdom. And if you want to become truly wise, truly fulfilled, and truly powerful, then it all starts with humility, the mirror within. One of the most uncomfortable yet transformative teachings of Master Shi Heng Yi is this: the true battlefield is within. The real enemy is not out there in the world. It is the unseen, unchallenged parts of ourselves. And if you want to defeat inner arrogance, if you want to live with wisdom and clarity, you must be willing to look into the mirror within. This mirror doesn't show your reflection the way a bathroom mirror does. It shows your reactions. It shows your insecurities. It shows the truth of how you respond when challenged, corrected, or misunderstood. And most importantly, it reveals whether your humility is authentic or just another mask. So ask yourself honestly, do I really listen when someone speaks to me, or do I just wait for my turn to respond? When someone gives me feedback, do I pause and reflect, or do I instantly get defensive? When I'm wrong, do I admit it, or do I find clever ways to justify myself? Do I seek truth, or do I seek to be right? These aren't comfortable questions. They sting, they expose the ego, but they also set you free. Because until you confront these inner reactions, you'll continue living in illusion, believing you're growing when you're actually standing still. Master Shi Heng Yi teaches that self-reflection is a sacred practice. It is the mirror that reveals the blind spots, the habits, the subtle ways the ego tries to stay in control. And make no mistake, the ego doesn't like mirrors. It prefers projection. It would rather blame others, point fingers, or shift responsibility than admit its own need to grow. But wisdom doesn't come from pointing outward. It comes from looking inward. This is where humility becomes your greatest weapon. Because only a humble person can say, "I was wrong." Only a humble person can ask, "What am I not seeing?" And only a humble person can look in the mirror and say, "There is still work to do." When you practice looking inward, something beautiful happens. Your perspective expands. You start seeing patterns, how your fears shape your responses, how your pride blocks connection, how your insecurities masquerade as confidence. You stop being a victim of your emotions and start becoming a master of your mind. This self-awareness doesn't make you weak, it makes you powerful. Because once you understand yourself deeply, no one can manipulate you, trigger you, or control you. You become anchored, not in your ego, but in your essence. So don't run from the mirror. Face it. Stand before it with honesty and courage. Because on the other side of that reflection is a stronger, wiser, more awakened version of you. And always remember, the person who is willing to look within will always rise above the person who only looks without. Arrogance destroys relationships. Arrogance doesn't just damage your internal growth, it slowly and often silently destroys your relationships. When we think about broken connections, whether it's between lovers, friends, family members, or even colleagues, we often point to misunderstandings, betrayal, or neglect. But underneath many of those visible breakdowns is a quieter, deadlier root: inner arrogance. Master Shi Heng Yi teaches that relationships thrive not just on love, but on mutual respect, humility, and the willingness to learn from each other. And that's exactly what arrogance erases. It closes the door to understanding and locks you into your own perspective, leaving no room for empathy, growth, or shared truth. Arrogance whispers, "I'm right. You're wrong." It says, "There's nothing you can teach me." It believes that apologies are for the weak, and that vulnerability is a flaw, not a strength. Now imagine trying to build intimacy with someone who never listens, someone who always has to win the argument, someone who treats disagreement as disrespect. Over time, the emotional distance grows, even if the people remain physically close. Love doesn't disappear overnight. It erodes, slowly, quietly, painfully. You see, people don't need you to be perfect. They don't even need you to have all the answers. What they need is your presence, your humility, and your openness. They need to feel heard, valued, and understood. But arrogance blocks all of that. It shuts down communication. It turns disagreements into power struggles. It transforms conversations into competitions. Even in friendships, arrogance shows up in subtle ways, interrupting others, dismissing their feelings, or constantly shifting attention back to yourself. It creates emotional imbalances, where one person feels unheard and the other feels unteachable. In families, it shows up as controlling behavior, harsh judgment, or the refusal to admit mistakes. Parents who can't say, "I was wrong," raise children who grow up either fearful or defiant. Siblings who can't see beyond their pride drift apart over misunderstandings that could have been resolved with one honest conversation. And in romantic partnerships, arrogance is poison. It kills trust, drains affection, and replaces love with ego battles. When one partner always needs to be right, the other eventually feels small, silenced, or simply exhausted. But here's the truth. It's not disagreement that ruins relationships. It's arrogance in the face of disagreement. It's the refusal to grow, to adapt, to reflect. On the other hand, humility creates space. It says, "Maybe I misunderstood. Maybe I could have done better. Let me listen instead of defend." And in that space, healing can happen. Connection can deepen. Respect can rebuild. So if your relationships feel tense, distant, or broken, look within. Not in self-blame, but in self-honesty. Because sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do isn't to convince others you're right. It's to be willing to grow. The world is a mirror. What you see reflects what you are. The world is not happening to you. It's happening through you. This is one of the most difficult truths to accept when you're frustrated with life, feeling stuck, misunderstood, or constantly at odds with your circumstances. But the truth is this: the world is a mirror, and what you perceive in others often reveals more about your internal state than theirs. Master Shu Hengyi emphasizes this powerful principle in his teachings. He says that when you observe something in another person, whether it inspires you or irritates you, it is often a reflection of what lies within. If someone's arrogance triggers you, maybe it's because there's a part of you that struggles with pride. If someone's confidence inspires you, maybe it's because deep down, you're yearning to embrace your own worth. The mirror of life is neutral. It simply reflects what stands in front of it. But we color that reflection through our interpretation, projection, and unresolved emotions. That's why two people can witness the same event and walk away with two completely different experiences. It's not the event, it's their internal lens. This is why emotional mastery matters. When your mind is cloudy with resentment, fear, or insecurity, the world appears threatening. People seem judgmental. Opportunities feel scarce. Love feels conditional. But when your heart is clear and your mind is calm, the same world looks different, kinder, more open, and more full of possibility. You start seeing less of what's wrong and more of what's right. You give others the benefit of the doubt. You stop assuming the worst and start attracting the best, because you're living from the inside out, not the outside in. Ask yourself, what is life trying to show me through this person, this situation, this emotion? If you feel stuck in cycles, whether in relationships, career, or personal habits, it might not be because the world is unfair. It might be that you're still carrying beliefs, wounds, or attitudes that keep attracting similar reflections. You can't escape the mirror. You can only clean it by working on the image within. And here's the empowering part. When you change, the reflection changes. When you begin to embody compassion, you begin to notice kindness around you. When you embrace self-respect, you stop tolerating disrespect from others. When you develop discipline, you start seeing doors open that once felt locked. So instead of constantly judging the world or trying to fix everyone else, try this. Go inward, clean the mirror, adjust your lens, heal your perception. The shift may feel subtle, but the results will be transformational. Because once you begin to master your inner world, the outer world no longer controls your peace. As Master Heng puts it, you are not the victim of your reflection, you are the source of it. Remember, life doesn't show you what's real, it shows you what you're ready to see. They hate you because they see you don't need them. Independence is powerful, but power, when misunderstood, becomes threatening to those who are insecure. Let's be clear, when you walk in your truth, when you know who you are, and when you're no longer dependent on others for validation or identity, something begins to shift in how people react to you. They notice. They might not say it out loud, but they feel it. And for some, especially those who thrive on control, manipulation, or codependency, that realization sparks resentment. Why? Because your detachment strips away their illusion of control. You see, most people are used to others needing them, needing approval, attention, company, or guidance. But when you operate from a place of inner fulfillment, when you choose peace over attention, solitude over drama, self-respect over people-pleasing, it makes some uncomfortable. Not because you're doing anything wrong, but because your independence reveals their dependency. It reminds them of what they haven't yet cultivated within themselves. This is why some people will try to label you as cold, selfish, arrogant, or too distant, when in reality, you've simply outgrown the emotional need to be needed. You've realized that your worth doesn't depend on how many people surround you. Your happiness is not something they can give or take away. And that kind of emotional freedom is rare. It shakes up dynamics. It makes people reevaluate themselves. But not everyone is ready for that reflection. So what do they do instead? They project, they gossip, they withdraw, they silently resent you. Not because you hurt them, but because you remind them they haven't yet healed. It's easier for people to criticize your strength than confront their weakness. It's more convenient to paint you as the problem than to do the inner work to rise to your level of emotional maturity. But don't shrink because of it. Don't water yourself down to fit into emotional molds that no longer serve you. Your wholeness is not a threat, it's a mirror. It tells the world, I am not here to beg, to chase, or to convince. I am whole, even when I stand alone. And that kind of energy is magnetic. That kind of clarity is rare. That kind of presence is unshakable. The truth is, people don't hate you because you're wrong. They hate you because you're proof that healing is possible without them, that peace is possible in solitude, that growth is possible in silence. And deep down, they know they haven't done what you've done. So instead of clapping for your courage, they criticize your calm. But don't let that shake you, let it affirm you. Because when you reach a place where you truly don't need anyone to complete you, fix you, or save you, that's when you become truly free. You're not crazy. You're just awakening. If lately you've been feeling like you're outgrowing everything around you, conversations, environments, even certain relationships, let me tell you something that might ease your soul. You're not crazy. You're awakening. This isn't some random mood swing or emotional phase. This is your soul evolving beyond the noise, beyond the masks, and beyond the roles you were conditioned to play. What once felt normal now feels suffocating. What once felt comfortable now feels hollow. That's not madness, that's clarity. The truth is, awakening often feels like breaking. You begin to question everything. Why am I here? Why do I tolerate this? Why do I feel exhausted around certain people? Why doesn't this path fulfill me anymore? And suddenly the answers you once accepted no longer satisfy the deeper calling within you. People might say, you've changed. They might say, you're being dramatic, or you're overthinking. But listen, don't let the blind convince you to close your eyes. You are waking up to who you really are, and that awakening is uncomfortable. It will shake the foundations of everything you built while you were still asleep. You'll start to notice things you once ignored. You'll feel things you used to suppress. You'll crave silence more than attention, peace more than approval, purpose more than popularity. And that's how you know something powerful is happening within you. You're no longer just existing, you're becoming. The people around you might not understand. That's okay. This journey isn't meant for everyone to understand. It's meant for you to experience. Awakening is deeply personal. It's not about being perfect or having all the answers. It's about being aware. Aware of your patterns, your pain, your power, and your potential. You'll have moments when you want to run back to the familiar because growth feels like grief. You'll mourn your old self, your old beliefs, your old life, but don't confuse discomfort with wrongness. Growth will always feel like chaos before it feels like clarity. You are shedding layers that were never yours to begin with. Generational patterns, cultural expectations, unrealistic roles, emotional wounds. All of it is rising to the surface, not to break you, but to free you. So yes, your world may look like it's falling apart, but in reality, it's falling into place. You're not going crazy, you're waking up. And the moment you stop resisting it, you'll find something extraordinary. A version of you that's not trying to fit in, because you were never meant to. A version of you that no longer settles, because your spirit demands more. A version of you that finally recognizes, I was never broken. I was just buried beneath expectations. Let them call you different. Let them call you distant. But don't ever let them convince you to go back to sleep. This is your awakening, and it's just beginning. Why empaths must protect their energy. Empaths are born with a powerful gift, the ability to feel deeply, to connect instantly, and to absorb the emotional state of the people around them. But with great sensitivity comes great responsibility. And the most crucial responsibility of all is protecting your energy. If you are an empath, you already know that not everyone deserves access to your spirit. You walk into a room and you instantly feel the tension before a word is spoken. Someone smiles at you, but your gut feels their sadness hiding behind that grin. This isn't imagination, it's your nervous system, your intuition, your soul picking up on energy frequencies that others miss entirely. And while this gift makes you nurturing, compassionate, and deeply intuitive, it also makes you vulnerable. Because without boundaries, your energy becomes a buffet for emotional vampires. Yes, emotional vampires, people who feed off your light, your kindness, your attentiveness, but give you nothing in return. They seek out empaths like magnets because they crave what you naturally radiate: warmth, validation, understanding. But here's what they don't tell you. Being a healer doesn't mean you should sacrifice your own healing. Being kind doesn't mean becoming someone's emotional dumping ground. When you constantly absorb others' pain, without filtering or releasing it, your spirit begins to drain. You'll feel exhausted for no reason, heavy in places you can't name, confused about emotions that aren't even yours. This is why empaths must protect their energy like their life depends on it, because in many ways, it does. Start by understanding this truth. Not everyone is entitled to your presence. Not every phone call needs an answer. Not every text demands an immediate reply. Not every cry for help is your responsibility to fix. You are not the savior of broken people. You are not a sponge for toxicity. You are a soul on a journey of your own. And while it is noble to care, it is wise to discern. Because some people don't want to heal, they just want to transfer their chaos onto someone else. Empaths must learn to say no without guilt, to walk away from people who only reach out when they need something, to recognize that self-protection is not selfishness, it is survival. Create spiritual boundaries, cleanse your energy, spend time in solitude, get back into nature, meditate, journal, release what is not yours to carry. Surround yourself with people who energize you, not those who silently drain you with every interaction. You weren't born to be a martyr. You were born to be a mirror of what's possible when sensitivity is honored, not exploited. Protect your peace, guard your heart, respect your light. Because when an empath learns how to protect their energy, they stop bleeding for people who wouldn't offer them a bandage. They rise, they heal, they reclaim their power. And most importantly, they finally begin to pour that same compassion back into themselves. Why some people can't handle your light. Not everyone who crosses your path will celebrate your light, and that's not a reflection of you, it's a revelation of them. There's a reason why some people feel uncomfortable in your presence. It's not because you've done something wrong, it's because your energy exposes what they've been hiding. Your authenticity disrupts their facade. Your clarity shakes their confusion. Your confidence stirs their insecurity. Let that sink in. Your light shines too brightly for those still living in the shadows of their own self-doubt. As an empath or a highly aware individual, your presence alone can be triggering to those who haven't yet faced themselves. People who are running from their truth will see you as too much, too intense, too emotional, too awake. But the truth is, you're just real, and they're not ready for that kind of honesty. Your ability to feel deeply, to speak with intention, to move with awareness, it all reminds them of everything they've suppressed. So instead of honoring your energy, they may attack it. Instead of thanking you for the mirror you offer, they may try to break it. Some will minimize your worth, not because it is small, but because it's easier for them to belittle you than to elevate themselves. Some will ghost you, not because you lack value, but because your spirit speaks a language their soul isn't ready to understand. And some will resent you, not openly, but in subtle ways. They'll downplay your growth, withhold their support, or keep you at a distance. It's not that you're intimidating, it's that you reflect something they aren't prepared to face, the version of themselves they haven't yet become. You see, when you refuse to dim your light just to fit in, you unconsciously challenge others to rise, and not everyone is willing to take that leap. Some people prefer comfort over growth, illusion over truth, safety over transformation, and that's okay. Your journey isn't about making others comfortable. It's about honoring who you are, even if that means standing alone for a while. Let them misunderstand you. Let them mislabel you. Let them walk away. Because the ones who are aligned with your frequency will never feel threatened by your light. They will be drawn to it, inspired by it, uplifted by it. Your light is not for everyone, but it is for someone. Someone who's doing the work, who's unlearning, who's healing, and who recognizes you because they've had to reclaim their light too. So stop shrinking, stop apologizing, stop editing yourself to be digestible for people who haven't yet learned how to fully receive. Shine anyway, glow anyway, speak anyway, because those who can't handle your light were never meant to walk beside you in the first place. You're not here to be accepted by everyone. You're here to illuminate the path for the ones who are finally ready to see the pain of outgrowing people you love. One of the most heartbreaking parts of personal growth is this: you will outgrow people you never thought you would. It doesn't happen overnight. It happens gradually, one conversation at a time, one shift in your thinking, one realization that the connection doesn't feel aligned anymore. You start to notice that the things you used to tolerate now feel heavy. The energy feels off, the laughter feels forced, and the depth you crave isn't there. This is the silent heartbreak of the soul, because these are people you love, people who've been there through the ups and downs, people you may have grown up with, struggled with, even dreamed with. But now, something inside you is changing, and as you rise, they choose to stay the same. And that hurts. It hurts when you see potential in someone, but they won't take the steps to grow. It hurts when you've expanded your mind, but every conversation with them still circles back to gossip, drama, or small-minded thinking. It hurts when they start resenting you for evolving instead of being inspired by it. Outgrowing someone doesn't mean you're better than them. It just means your paths are no longer walking in the same direction. And sometimes you'll do everything you can to bring them along with you. You'll try to share the books, the breakthroughs, the mindset shifts. You'll try to uplift them, encourage them, wait for them. But eventually you'll realize that you can't grow for them. You cannot shrink yourself to fit into spaces you've spiritually outgrown. You cannot keep dimming your light to make others comfortable in their darkness. This is the emotional crossroads where many empaths struggle: loyalty versus self-preservation. You're loyal to a fault, so you hold on to people far longer than you should. But the longer you stay in connections that no longer match your frequency, the more drained, resentful, and confused you become. Growth will cost you people, but staying small will cost you yourself. You must understand this truth. It's okay to love people from afar. It's okay to pray for someone and still walk away. It's okay to grieve a friendship or relationship while also being at peace with the decision to let it go. Because what's meant for your highest good will never ask you to betray your soul to keep it. This pain of outgrowing people is real. It's deep. It's lonely. But it's also a powerful confirmation that you are becoming more aligned with your purpose. And sometimes the silence after you walk away is where you'll hear your intuition the loudest. So don't fear the loss. Honor it. You are not leaving people behind out of arrogance. You are releasing them out of necessity. Not every chapter includes every character. And that's how stories grow. That's how you grow. Let go with love, mourn with grace, but keep rising, because your future is calling. And it won't wait for those too afraid to evolve with you. Rebuilding your boundaries after they've been broken. When your boundaries have been ignored, trampled on, or violated, especially by those you trusted, it can feel like your entire sense of safety has been shattered. You may question your own judgment. You may feel guilt for saying no, or resentment for not saying it sooner. And worse, you may start to believe that setting boundaries is selfish, harsh, or wrong. But here's the truth. You are not wrong for expecting respect. Boundaries are not walls to keep people out. They are the bridges that define how others can meet you. They tell the world, this is what is acceptable in my life, and this is what isn't. And after your boundaries have been broken, you owe it to yourself to not only rebuild them, but to reinforce them with clarity, compassion, and courage. Rebuilding boundaries starts with self-honesty. Ask yourself, where did I let things slide that I knew didn't feel right? Where did I ignore my intuition for the sake of keeping peace? What patterns or behaviors have I repeatedly tolerated at the expense of my own well-being? These answers might hurt. They might confront you with truths you weren't ready to see. But this discomfort is necessary. It's how you reclaim your power. Because every time you ignore your own limits, you train people to ignore them too. And every time you enforce them with love and firmness, you teach the world how to treat you. The next step is to release the guilt. Many empaths struggle with boundary setting because they're conditioned to believe that being nice means being endlessly available. But being kind is not the same as being a doormat. You can be loving and assertive, gentle and firm, compassionate and unapologetic about what you need. Boundaries are a form of self-respect, not selfishness. And here's the key. You don't need to over-explain them. You don't need a TED Talk. It's worth of justification. You don't owe anyone access to you just because they've had it before. When you say, this is what I need to feel safe, respected, and whole, that is enough. Some people will not like your new boundaries. That's okay. The ones who benefit from your lack of boundaries will always feel attacked when you start enforcing them. Let them. You are not here to make everyone comfortable. You are here to protect your peace. And the more consistent you become in honoring your limits, the more confident you'll feel. You'll start to trust yourself again. You'll start to feel safer in your own skin. You'll stop over-explaining, over-giving, and overcompensating. This is how you heal. This is how you rebuild the fortress around your soul. Not to keep love out, but to keep your light protected from those who don't know how to honor it. So if your boundaries have been broken before, don't shrink, don't harden, just rebuild. Not with bitterness, but with wisdom. Not with fear, but with love. You are allowed to be the protector of your peace, and from now on, you will be. Why some people can't handle your healing? Healing isn't just about feeling better. It's about becoming better. It's about changing your habits, raising your standards, and refusing to shrink yourself for the comfort of others. And as beautiful and empowering as that process is, not everyone around you will celebrate it. In fact, some people will become distant, critical, or outright hostile when they see you doing the inner work to transform your life. Here's why. Your healing confronts their lack of it. When you start setting boundaries where there used to be open doors, people who once took advantage of your access get uncomfortable. When you speak up for yourself after years of silence, those who benefited from your silence feel threatened. And when you choose peace over drama, solitude over toxic company, and self-love over external validation, you shine a spotlight on the very areas they've been avoiding in their own lives. They don't resent you. They resent what your growth reveals in them. See, people who haven't done the work will often feel triggered by those who have. It reminds them of the healing they've delayed, the conversations they've avoided, and the truth they've buried. Your evolution is a mirror, and not everyone is ready to see their reflection. But that's not your burden to carry. You don't owe anyone an apology for becoming whole. You don't need to dim your light to keep someone else from squinting. And you definitely don't need to downplay your healing just to maintain relationships that can't survive your growth. The sad reality is, as you heal, you will outgrow people. You'll outgrow the friend who only called when you were broken. You'll outgrow the partner who fell in love with your insecurities. You'll outgrow the family members who mocked your sensitivity and belittled your dreams. And while that may feel lonely at times, it's actually divine protection. Because the deeper you go into your healing, the more aligned you become with your authentic self. And the more aligned you are, the more the wrong people will fall away, and the right people will find you. People who celebrate your boundaries instead of resisting them. People who respect your growth instead of resenting it. People who love the healed, powerful, self-aware version of you, not the version they could control, manipulate, or depend on to make themselves feel superior. So if you find yourself losing people along the way, let them go. You're not losing anything. You're clearing space. Space for healthier relationships. Space for real love. Space for people who meet you at your level, not drag you back down to theirs. Remember this, healing will always cost you something. Comfort, familiarity, certain relationships, but it will reward you with peace, clarity, and freedom. And that exchange, it's always worth it. So don't fear the shifts happening around you. Honor the healing happening within you. You're not too much, you're not selfish, you're simply becoming whole. And not everyone is meant to walk with you on that sacred journey. Let them stay behind. You're moving forward. Your energy is a gift, not a burden. In a world that often praises numbness and rewards emotional detachment, your energy, your ability to feel deeply, care fiercely, and sense what others cannot, is a rare and powerful gift. But let's be honest, it hasn't always felt that way, has it? Maybe you were told growing up that you're too sensitive. Maybe people rolled their eyes when you said you needed space to recharge. Maybe you felt like your empathy made you weak or difficult to deal with. But let's set the record straight. Your energy is not a burden. It is a gift, a sacred one. Your energy is what makes people feel seen in a world where they're constantly overlooked. It's what allows you to walk into a room and immediately sense the tension, the sadness, or the joy that no one else is picking up on. It's what makes you stay up late thinking about how your words affect others. It's what pushes you to love deeply, listen patiently, and offer light in places others would walk away from. But that gift comes with responsibility. You must learn to protect it, because not everyone deserves access to your energy. Not everyone should be allowed to tap into your light, especially when all they do is drain it. You can love people without allowing them to exhaust you. You can care deeply and still say no. You can show compassion while maintaining your boundaries. Empaths often feel guilty for withdrawing, for not responding, for saying, "I can't hold this for you today." But understand this. Preserving your energy is not selfish, it's necessary. You are not placed on this earth to carry the emotional weight of everyone around you. You are not a dumping ground. You are not a fixer for people who refuse to fix themselves. You are a vessel of light, but even the brightest flame needs shelter from the storm. And just because your energy is powerful doesn't mean it has to be available to everyone. It is yours. Sacred, intuitive, healing, and rare. It was given to you to create, to uplift, to serve a purpose that resonates with your soul. Not to be wasted, trying to rescue people who don't want to be saved. So stop apologizing for needing rest. Stop explaining why you had to pull back. Stop feeling ashamed for doing what you must to protect your peace. Because the moment you start treating your energy like the treasure it is, the right people will begin to treat it that way too. You'll no longer feel the need to over-explain. You'll no longer tolerate emotional freeloaders. You'll begin attracting people who pour into you as much as you pour into them. Your energy is a gift, not a burden. Treat it like the divine power it truly is. Honor it, protect it, and never again apologize for the strength of your spirit. Healing isn't always loud. Sometimes it's in the quiet things. Healing doesn't always come with fireworks. It doesn't always look like a powerful breakthrough in therapy, a public declaration of self-worth, or a dramatic moment of walking away from toxicity. No, sometimes healing is quiet. So quiet that even you don't realize it's happening until one day you look back and think, wow, I'm not who I used to be. It's in the small decisions, the quiet refusals, the mornings when you get out of bed, even when the weight of the world tells you to stay down. It's in making your bed, opening the window, drinking a glass of water, and choosing not to text someone who hurt you again. That's healing. It's not always poetic. It's often messy and invisible. Sometimes healing looks like saying less, responding slower, not needing to prove your side of the story, not defending your worth to people who never saw it to begin with. Sometimes it's in choosing to be alone rather than begging for company that only drains you. Sometimes it's in laughing again at something silly on TV and realizing joy still lives inside you, even after everything. Sometimes it's in deleting a number, blocking a memory, or simply breathing through a moment that once would have broken you. Healing also means forgiving yourself for not knowing better before, for staying too long, for not speaking up, for trying to fix someone else while you bled inside. Forgiveness isn't just something you extend to others. It's a gift you must learn to give yourself. There is strength in silence, in slowing down, in the stillness of your soul when you stop chasing chaos and begin to choose peace. And it's in those quiet moments, the ones no one sees, no one applauds, that your deepest healing takes root. You may not get credit for it. No one may notice the progress, but you will feel it. You'll realize you do. And cry over the same things anymore. You don't entertain the same people. You don't feel the need to shrink yourself to make others comfortable. You begin to rise, quietly, steadily, with dignity and grace. This is your reminder. Healing doesn't have to be loud to be real. It doesn't need an audience to be powerful. And it doesn't need to be perfect to be transformative. So give yourself credit for the soft strength it takes to grow in silence, for the courage to face your shadows when no one's clapping for you, for the quiet triumphs that only your soul knows about. Because those moments, they matter. They're changing you. They're building the version of you that will never again settle for less than you deserve. You are healing. Even if no one sees it, even if no one claps, keep going. The quiet things are speaking, and they're telling you you're becoming whole. Protecting your peace is not selfish, it's sacred. There will come a time in your journey when you realize that peace is more valuable than approval. That protecting your energy isn't selfish, it's survival. It's sacred. You are not required to answer every call. You are not obligated to attend every gathering. You do not need to explain your silence, your absence, or your boundaries to anyone who is committed to misunderstanding you. When you begin to truly value your peace, you stop feeling guilty for walking away from anything that disrupts it. Toxic friendships, draining conversations, one-sided relationships, they may not be evil, but they're exhausting. And anything that constantly leaves you emotionally bankrupt does not deserve unlimited access to your life. Protecting your peace means knowing when to engage and when to let go. It means choosing your battles wisely, not because you're afraid of confrontation, but because not everything deserves your energy. Not every comment deserves a clapback. Not every insult requires a rebuttal. Not every door needs to be knocked on twice. Sometimes the strongest move you can make is to walk away, not in anger, not in bitterness, but in quiet power. That's what peace looks like. Not just the absence of chaos, but the presence of inner alignment. You weren't created to live in constant conflict. You weren't designed to be a dumping ground for other people's projections and pain. Your soul was made to breathe, to rest, to grow, to expand. That can only happen when you give yourself permission to say no. No to conversations that leave you feeling small. No to relationships that keep you questioning your worth. No to environments that drain your spirit. And here's the truth. Not everyone will understand. Some people will call you cold. Some will say you've changed. Some will accuse you of being selfish, distant, or fake. But their discomfort is not your responsibility. Growth often looks like distance. Peace sometimes looks like solitude. And self-respect almost always looks like boundaries. Protecting your peace means checking in with yourself more than you check social media. It means being honest about what you need, not what people expect. It means realizing that it's okay to choose you, even if others don't clap for that choice. This is your life, your energy, your healing, your sanctuary. Guard it. Because when you protect your peace, you protect your purpose. You show up for yourself in ways no one else can. You become unavailable for anything that lowers your vibration or pulls you back into a version of yourself you've outgrown. Your peace is not just protection, it's power. And anyone who truly loves you will honor that. So say no without guilt. Say yes to rest. Say goodbye when you must. And above all, say yes to yourself. Because peace isn't something you find in the world. It's something you fight to keep within. Let's pause for a moment and truly reflect on everything we've uncovered. If you're an empath, you already know this world doesn't always feel safe. It's loud, chaotic, and filled with people who often misunderstand you. You've probably spent years questioning your sensitivity, hiding your light, or shrinking yourself to make others comfortable. But let me say this with complete clarity. Your empathy is not a weakness, it's a superpower. And your light, no matter how inconvenient it is to others, was never meant to be dimmed. Throughout this journey, we've explored the truth of what it means to walk through life with a tender heart in a tough world. We've peeled back the layers of why some people secretly resent your light, because it reminds them of everything they've buried. Your compassion reveals their coldness. Your authenticity exposes their masks. Your clarity threatens the illusions they cling to. And instead of taking that personally, I want you to start seeing it as confirmation. Confirmation that you're doing something right, that you're growing, that your soul is alive and vibrating at a frequency many haven't even discovered within themselves. But here's the challenge. Will you continue to protect that light? Will you honor it, even when it makes others uncomfortable? Will you choose peace, even when the world demands chaos? You owe it to yourself to stop apologizing for your depth. Stop explaining your boundaries. Stop overcompensating for other people's emotional immaturity. This is your permission to be unapologetically you, to feel deeply, to love wholly, to walk away peacefully, to protect your soul like the sacred ground it is. From this moment forward, make a vow. No more shrinking, no more people-pleasing, no more watering down your worth just to be accepted by those who never had the capacity to appreciate you. You don't need to fix yourself to fit in. You need to free yourself to stand out. You're not here to meet expectations. You're here to set a new standard. Let your stillness be powerful. Let your no be firm. Let your presence speak volumes. Because real strength doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers, I see your dysfunction, but I choose not to absorb it. I hear your projections, but I return them to sender. I feel the heaviness, but I choose light anyway. So to every empath listening to this, keep your heart open, but guard it wisely. Shine your light, but protect your peace. Love without limits, but walk away when necessary. You are not here to be consumed. You are here to be celebrated. And if they can't handle your light, let them stay in the dark, because your glow was never meant for small minds. It was meant to illuminate the path for others like you. Your light is rare. Protect it fiercely. Stay sensitive, stay strong, stay sacred. Let them resent your light. Just don't ever stop shining.